Grew up in this area. I grew up in North Warren, and we went to the North Warren playground. But every summer, during different events, we would get in the cars, and then the playground supervisors, mine happened to be Mr. Molinaro and Mr. Kraft, who were the 5th and 6th grade teachers in North Warren, they'd load us up in our cars, and we'd come down here, and I distinctly remember coming here, and I think I got the biggest car. I don't remember that, but what a great memory. It's certainly our pleasure at Warren General Hospital to be part of this project. When Nancy Freenock gave me a call about it some years ago, I certainly said we're all in. Whatever support we can provide. And the answer, or the question is why? And the answer is because of what we're hearing today. It's just an opportunity for our patients and our employees to have somewhere to come out, sit and enjoy nature, to hear the water, to enjoy the outdoors, and to really have the environment help with the medical healing. My job is strategy, my job is economics, my job is recruitment. I don't know the medicine. The speakers, Dr. Keith Price and Dr. Ann Rasika, next will and certainly do know the medicine. But what I can tell you is the heart, the environment, the feeling does play a role in healing. And it's very important to me to see this. Over the past few years, we've done a lot of improvements in the hospital. Most recently, almost $10 million of interior improvements and upgrades. Right over here in our cancer center, we put in a brand new $5 million linear accelerator. Inside of the hospital, a new 3D mammography unit, $1 million upgrade to the ER. We're planning a $1 million upgrade to the maternity unit. Those are all interior things to the facility over there. This represents a beautification of the exterior, and we're so proud to be part of it, and we will. Nancy asked me, do you think sometime you guys can go over there and kind of pull the weeds? And maybe I'll do that, Nancy, during my lunchtime. So it's our pleasure to be part of the project, and certainly it's going to help all of the patients in Warren General Hospital. So with that, I'd like to now introduce Dr. Keith Price. Dr. Price has been in Warren for 34 years, but he wasn't born in Warren. So, interloper, whatever. Southern, he is a Southerner. Dr. Price has a long and great history here in Warren, spending the majority or all of your career with family medicine of Warren. When he chose to retire, I swooped him up and said, not quite. And convinced him to become our medical director, and we've enjoyed his guidance and leadership for the past couple of years as medical director. So with that, Dr. Keith Price.
Thank you, and I promise you the word COVID is nowhere in my speech. But as we sit here in this beautiful setting, I am reminded that gardens are so therapeutic. In fact, gardening has been a hobby of mine for over 30 years. I have a number of perennial gardens and a big vegetable plot, which my wife says is much too large. She's probably right, but hey, I'm the one pulling all the weeds. And I don't hear her complaining about the fresh asparagus or the cantaloupe or the other produce that I bring in throughout the season. There's just something so satisfying about gardens and gardening. Getting your hands dirty, working the soil, watching things grow. And gardens are just so therapeutic. Think about it. We see the miracle of how a tiny seed becomes a huge flowering plant. A flowering plant that is pollinated by bees or other insects in the amazing process of fertilization that produces wonderful fruit and vegetables. Gardens also provide a place of peace and quiet, of connection of nature, of realizing the wonders of creation. Yes, gardens are so therapeutic. One of my favorite things to do in the summertime is to go out and see the progress of my garden first thing in the morning with a hot cup of coffee in hand. And gardens can really teach us a lot about patience, watching things grow little by little, incessantly pulling out those cabbage worms that are making Swiss cheese out of my cabbage heads, or smashing those tiny little eggs of the beetles that are eating my asparagus spears. Yes, patience, patience. They're God's creatures too, because remember, gardening is so therapeutic. For about 25 years, besides the insects, no other critters bothered my garden. We lived in a wonderful symbiosis until about 4 years ago. Toward the end of that summer, 4 years ago, as I went out to check on my garden, I noticed that all my beets had been harvested. And I thought, what a wonderful wife I have. She's gathered all the beets so I don't have to. Well, guess what? She hadn't harvested the beets. The deer had harvested the beets. The deer green, the beet greens, the beets, nothing. It was all completely gone. I couldn't believe it. It's never happened before. Why is this happening to me? Okay, but calm down. Remember, gardens are so therapeutic. Gardens are so therapeutic. So after spending a lot of time on Google, I did learn that deer supposedly don't have real good eyesight. And they're easily spooked by brushing up against even a fine, lightweight mesh fence. So what did I do? I put in a deer fence. And now let's fast forward to the next spring after I did that. With the deer fence in place, I go out to inspect my garden's progress. And no deer have breached the fence. Success at last. The green beans are germinating, their little cotyledons are reaching up to the sun, soaking in the sunshine, all in neat rows. Oh, life is good. So the next morning, I go out again, coffee in hand, and look around, and where are all the leaves of my green beans? All that's left are little stubs of the stems. What is going on here? This has never happened before. And what is that hole doing in my deer fence, down low, right at ground level? And you probably guessed it. Yes, the rabbits. The rabbits had chewed holes in the deer fence, and now they have free rein in my garden. This means war. I mean, who on earth ever said that gardens are therapeutic? So, now let's fast forward to today. I just recently have put up a 3-foot wire mesh fence up against my 6-foot deer fence. I even buried that fence about 8 inches, so hopefully the rabbits can't dig underneath it. And of course, for the 75 or so bucks that I spent for the fencing, I could have bought a lot of fruit and vegetables. But I had to remind myself, gardens are so therapeutic. Yeah, they're therapeutic, all right. Right now, I need therapy for anger management and also for my paranoid thinking that Mother Nature is always out to get me. But wait a minute. This is not about me. This is not my garden. We're at this garden here. Here, someone else is responsible for pulling all the weeds and doing all the raking and doing all the maintenance. And I must say, I think the city of Warren and all the planners have done an incredible job creating this little Garden of Eden. This is a beautiful gem. So, now I can just sit here and relax and absorb the tranquility, the babbling of the water, the statuary and the plantings. So yeah, I think I'll start my therapy right here. For at least for me, this garden is very therapeutic. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Ann Rasika. Ann is one of our preeminent medical oncologists. She's been here for a number of years, and I don't know how many, Ann, but who's counting, right? We have been blessed to have her on our staff, and she has helped many patients in Warren County and beyond. So, Ann.
So I look forward to my therapy out here. It's certainly a beautiful place. Warren has such a tradition of philanthropism and generosity. That's how I came here almost 20 years ago. It'll be 20 years in December. Warren General's previous CEO called me and said, Ann, if you come and I find a radiation oncologist, Warren will build a cancer center. Really? How can such a small community have a dedicated cancer center? I know, driving from my own experience with recent medical problems, driving to Pittsburgh or Erie is really, really difficult when you're not well. But still, we're small. Well, I came in December 2002, so it'll be this December, be 20 years. They found a radiation oncologist, and 4 months later, in March 2003, construction began on the cancer center. And in November 2003, I wasn't even here a year, we moved in. That's how dedicated Warren is to serving the community and serving their people. The Cancer Center has expanded twice since. I don't remember if it was 2012 or 2013 that we grew. It was delayed because of the 2008 recession, and as you've already heard from Rick, we just had a new state-of-the-art linear accelerator. This garden is another example of such generosity. Shortly after I came to Warren, I was pleased to meet Alice Bonnell, the mother of Karen, and I'm so happy to hear so much more about Karen. I knew she had died tragically young, and I knew she was a lovely, a very loved daughter, but I didn't know how incredibly talented she was. Unfortunately, Alice's husband was one of our first patients at the Cancer Center. So poor Alice Bonnell really had to deal with a child with cancer when she had to travel, and then a husband with a serious illness, but at least he could be treated locally. So the field, as we have heard, has served the youth of Warren for many, many years. And then the Cancer Center grew, replacing land with a necessary parking lot. But today, the generosity and imagination of the Warren community has reimagined this field and created this wonderful healing garden. I am so happy to see and hear the waterfall here. The one in our Cancer Center, which we enjoyed for so long, has unfortunately had to be discontinued because of the inability to efficiently sterilize the pump, and therefore it was a health hazard. The joyous school children around here, I walked here this afternoon before our gathering. Very sensitive walks, bench, and plants create the most peaceful environment. And I will meet Keith out here for lunches for our noonday therapy. And maybe Rick can sometimes get out here too. I know many will enjoy this garden for years to come. And I add my thanks to the wonderful team who imagined and created this garden. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time in the evening, we're going to bring up the current chair of the Street Landscape Committee, Mrs. Josie Girardi, in recognition of, believe it or not, 100 years of service for the Warren Street Landscaping Committee. And at this time, I would also like to bring up Senator Scott Hutchinson again, who has a couple of awards and proclamations perhaps. But before we get to that, I would like to properly introduce Josie. Josie Girardi has been an active member of the city's Street Landscape Committee for many years and has served as the committee chairperson since 2014. Josie was born and raised in Warren. She earned a Bachelor of Science degree at Mansfield University and was awarded a master's degree in education from Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Mrs. Girardi was a teacher at Youngsville High School for 30 years. Her volunteer activities include 17 years as a member of the National Ski Patrol at Peak and Peak, service on the Warren Forest County Head Start Board, and St. Joseph Church Building and Growers Committee. She served as president and vice president of the Warren Garden Club and is still an active member of the club, and also served as president and vice president of the Warren Antique Study Club. Josie has been a Penn State Master Gardener since 2000 and participates in the Warren County Farmers Market. She has served as the market manager and is presently on its board of directors. Ms. Girardi continues her career as an educator by presenting programs to garden clubs, outdoor groups, and all those interested in antiques and groups interested in food and nutrition. Please welcome Ms. Josie Girardi as we celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the City of Warren's Street Landscape Committee. Senator Hutchinson.
Keep coming, Justin. Thank you. Josie, probably one of the best parts of my job is to help recognize outstanding achievements, and certainly 100 years of service to the community of Warren is something that's very noteworthy and much appreciated. So congratulations for your group, and there are many years, many hours, and so much talent, time, and treasure that you've shared with the Warren community. So on behalf of the Senate of Pennsylvania, I do have a citation, a congratulatory citation, which I would like to read at this time. From the Senate of Pennsylvania, whereas the Senate of Pennsylvania takes great pride in recognizing those organizations which, through adherence to the highest standards of service, contribute in a meaningful way toward a better, more productive society. Whereas the City of Warren Street Landscape Committee is celebrating the momentous occasion of its 100th anniversary. Whereas comprised of local citizens, the Street Landscape Committee advises on the planting, maintenance, and removal of trees within the Warren City rights-of-way and park properties. For the past 34 years, it has facilitated attainment of the Tree City USA designation, and it was instrumental in development of the Crescent Park Rehabilitation Project and the installation of the Healing Garden. The Street Landscape Committee has developed a strong reputation for the highest quality of service throughout its history. By steady adherence to the principles of fairness, reliability, and integrity, it has become a leader in the community and a model that is worthy of emulation. Over the years, its members have contributed in a tremendous way to its growth and development. Now, therefore, the Senate of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania congratulates the City of Warren Street Landscape Committee upon its richly deserved recognition and extends warmest wishes for a future replete with ever-increasing success. Congratulations. And one side note, Representative Kathy Rapp was not able to be here, but she also joins in congratulating the Street Landscape Committee with a citation from the House of Representatives. I'm not going to read the entire citation. It's very similar, but Kathy sends along her deepest congratulations, and she was honored to also have a citation from the House of Representatives. Whereas the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania takes great pleasure in recognizing those organizations which contribute to the benefit of their communities and ultimately to all the citizens of this Commonwealth. Now, therefore, the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania salutes the Street Landscape Committee of Warren, Pennsylvania upon its richly deserved recognition and offers best wishes for continued growth and success in the years to come. Sponsored by Kathy Rapp, sponsor. Congratulations again. Thank you for all your group has done for this community.
Thank you very much. This is kind of overwhelming.